Welcome to Popular But Not Hits, where we count down the songs that got played in the pubs, got played on the radio, but somehow missed the top 20. 1986, John Farnham's You're the Voice is number one for 7 weeks. Bananarama are number one for 7 weeks. Billy Ocean, 6 weeks. The chart is a different world from what's happening on the pub circuit. And in 1986, those two worlds are further apart than ever. Cold Chisel are gone, Australian Crawl are done. The bands filling the gap, Hunters and Collectors, the Angels, Hoodoo Gurus and the Triffids, they're playing to the biggest crowds yet, and almost none of it is translating to the top 20. I've got 15 songs today, and the number one on this list has a story behind it that starts with the government department, a bulldozer, and a Sydney band who decided to write a song instead of packing up quietly. You'll have to wait for that one. So let's count them down. Popular But Not Hits, 1986. Number 15, Fireworks by the Choir Boys. In May 1986, the Choir Boys are coming back from the dead. Mark Gable had ruptured his vocal cords, and they'd been sitting out 2 years while he recovered. They signed with Mushroom and put out their comeback single, and it goes to number 60. 2 years after this, Run to Paradise goes to number 3, and the album Big Bad Noise goes double platinum. The distance between number 60 in 1986 and double platinum in 1988 is a pretty good argument for sticking around. Number 14, What Can I Do by the Spaniards. The Spaniards are a band assembled from the wreckage of other bands. Mick Peeling had come from Stars and the Ideals. Billy Miller had been in the Ferrets. By 1986, they're back. They've got a record out on EMI, and What Can I Do Now peaks at number 99. What can I do for you, baby? What can I say? What can I do? 99. That's as deep as this list goes today. But they're on countdown on the 8th of March, 1986. And for a couple of veterans of the pub circuit, that counts. Number 99 isn't failure. It's proof they're still in the room. Number 13, One Touch by the Radiators. The Radiators put this out on their own label, not a major, not a distributed indie, their own label. In 1986, that's a statement. One touch from me, one touch from you. I wanna hold you next to Brian Nickel wrote it. Chris Pine and the band produced it. And the album this song comes from, Nasty Habits in Nice Children, doesn't even come out until March 1987. So this is essentially a standalone single from a band running entirely on their own terms, peaking at 58 while the album quietly waits in the background. Number 12, Tantalise by The Church. The Church put out Heyday in November 1985. Tantalised is the single that follows. It charts in Australia in January 1986, and EMI released it in the UK in April. The whole band wrote it, and Peter Walsh produced it. Now you've been tantalised. 101 days. It peaks at number 62 in Australia. In the UK, Kerrang calls it strangely modern sounding and irresistibly sing-along. The Church never did have much luck getting their home country to pay attention until it was almost too late. But overseas, people got it straight away. Number 11, No Lies by Noiseworks. John Stevens had been working towards this for 3 years. He forms a band called The Change in 1983, builds it up, brings in the right players, renames it to Noiseworks in 1986 and gets signed to CBS. Then for the debut single, they call in Mark Opitz, the producer behind Cold Chisel's Circus Animals and INXS's Shaboo Shabaa. That's not a band feeling their way. That's a band who knows exactly what they're doing. Stevens is from Christchurch. He'd come to Australia to make it work. No Lies is the first thing he puts his name on publicly, and it reaches number 31. Within 2 years, Noise Works would crack the top 5. But here in October 1986, it all starts with Mark Opitz behind the desk and John Stevens in the booth. Number 10, Throw Your Arms Around Me by Hunters and Collectors. Right, let's get ahead of the comments section. You know this song and you might know the 1984 version. It came out as a standalone single in November 1984 and it peaked at number 34. In 1986, Hunters and Collectors re-recorded it with a slightly different arrangement for Human Frailty and released it again. The new version peaked at number 49, lower than the first time. They re-recorded it and it went backwards on the charts. Then, number 2 single on Triple J's Hottest 100 in 1989. Number 2 again in 1990. Number 4 in 1991. Eddie Vedder performed it with Pearl Jam. Crowded House covered it. APRA put it in their top 30 Australian songs of all time. Mark Seymour once described it as the first song he wrote that wasn't angry. They re-recorded it, it peaked at 49, then it became an immortal. Some songs take their time. Number 9, Wide Open Road by the Triffids. APRA's top 30 Australian songs of all time. In the year it was released, February 1986, it peaked at 64 on the Kent charts. David McComb wrote it. He started it in a house in Melbourne and finished it at a European soundcheck. The lyrics came almost fully formed one morning. The song is built around the long, flat stretch of highway between, I hope I pronounce this correctly, Kaiguna and Norseman on the Nullarbor, where the band's hi-hats had a habit of hitting kangaroos in the dark. They recorded it in London in August 1985 with Gil Norton, who'd just done Echo and the Bunnymen's Ocean Rain. In the UK, it reaches 26. In Australia, 64. The Triffids play it at the Australian Made concert in Perth in January 1987. McComb's intro to the song that night, it's sort of hard to write the set list because we've had so many hits in this country. David McComb died in February 1999. He was only 36. The song outlasted him by a long way. Number 8, Death Defying by the Hoodoo Gurus. Dave Faulkner wrote this during the HIV/AIDS crisis. He was losing friends. The song is about what it feels like. To shoot the video, they go to Kakadu National Park. January 28th, 1986, Faulkner wakes up that morning and turns on the news. The Challenger space shuttle has just exploded on live TV. The song is carrying grief. The video was filmed on the day of a disaster. Charles Fisher produced it and it peaked at 43 on the Kent chart. Faulkner has said it's one of his own favourite songs he's ever written. You can hear why. Number 7, Ride the Night Away by Jimmy Barnes. Here's a piece of trivia worth keeping in your back pocket. This song, which sounds like pure Australian pub rock, was not written by an Australian. Stephen Van Zandt from the E Street Band co-wrote it with drummer Steve Jordan. two Americans writing a Barnsey anthem. Mark Opitz produced it. That's how it works sometimes. The song that sounds most like home was written by a bloke from New Jersey. It's the third and final single from For the Working Class Man. It comes out in February 1986 and it peaks at 39. And nobody listening to it in a pub that year thought for a second it wasn't Australian. Number 6, You're Gonna Get Hurt by Jenny Morris. Andrew Farriss wrote this. The same Andrew Farriss who's writing songs for INXS. The same year his own band is about to go global. He also produced it. Jenny Morris is from Gisborne, New Zealand. She's been working the Australian pub and club scene for years, and this is her debut solo single. It reaches 24. The next year, she wins the ARIA Award for Best Female Artist. The man who gave her that start was busy building one of the biggest bands in the world at the same time. Not a bad year's work from Andrew Farriss. Number 5, Calling by Rose Tattoo. 5th album, and Angry Anderson is still standing. And that's the headline. Angry Anderson and John Mayer wrote it. Kevin Beamish produced it at Rhinoceros Studios. Beats from a Single Drum comes out in November 1986 and peaks at 35 on the album chart. The Tats have been through lineup changes and international attempts and everything else. And in 1986, they're on album number 5 and the single peaks at 24. Some bands just don't stop, and Rose Tattoo were always one of those bands. Number 4, Nature of the Beast by the Angels. Their 8th studio album, Howling, comes out in October 1986, peaks at number 6 and goes platinum. 4 singles come from it. This is the first one. Doc Neeson and Jay Lieb wrote it. Steve Brown produced it at Rhinoceros Studios in Sydney. Number 27 on the singles chart, while the album goes platinum. The Angels were always a band whose audience lived in the pubs, not in the record shops, and the chart numbers reflect that perfectly. Number 3, Listen Like Thieves by INXS. The Listen Like Thieves album came out in October 1985. By June 1986, this is the 4th and last single from it. All 6 members wrote it, and Chris Thomas produced it. The video was shot at the West Garth Theatre in Melbourne. It peaks at 28. 6 months later, INXS are headlining the Australian Made Tour, the first All-Australian Stadium Festival, and the Kick album is 3 months away. This single is the last thing they release before everything changes. Number 28 in June 1986. Then the whole world opens up. Number 2, Say Goodbye by Hunters and Collectors. This comes out on the 17th of February 1986, and for a lot of people who were going to pubs that year, it's not just a song, it's more like a ritual. Paul Kelly wrote about going to see Hunters and Collectors at the venue, about 1,500 blokes in the room, and when the punchline came, "You don't make me feel like I'm a woman anymore," all 1,500 of them bellowed it out in unison. He wrote about it years later in How to Make Gravy and asked, what was going on in Australian pubs in the late 80s? This is what was going on. A song that peaked at 24 on the Kent chart a song that 1,500 blokes knew by heart. Gavin McKillop produced it, the whole band wrote it. And for a certain generation, it never really stopped playing. And at number 1, Don't Tear It Down by Spy vs. Spy. The Department of Main Roads wanted to demolish the building on Darling Street where Spy vs. Spy were living. So they wrote a song about it. That's the story. And it's the most Australian story on the list.
Don't tear it down. There's life in it yet. Don't tear it down.
Craig Bloxham, Michael Wiley, Cliff Grigg and Gary Morris wrote it. Leszek Karski, who'd also produced Midnight Oil and The Boys Next Door, recorded it at Albert Studios in Sydney in August 1986. It comes out in November 86, peaks at 31 in February 87, and stays on the chart for 20 weeks. It goes platinum. The album it's from, AO Mod TV Vers, peaks at number 12 and goes gold. The title stands for Adults Only Modified Television Version, the old censorship label that used to appear on the bottom of late-night movies. Spy vs. Spy were that kind of band. Everything had a point. The government wanted to tear it down. The band wrote a song. The song outlasted the building. 15 songs from 1986. The year Australia Made tour changed everything. The year before INXS went global. The year before pub rock era started its long handover. The songs on this list didn't make the top 20, but they packed the pubs. They're all over people's memories of that year. The Triffids at 64 with one of the greatest Australian songs ever written. Hunters and Collectors at 49 with a song they'd already released once and decided to try again. Spy vs. Spy turning a government demolition order into a platinum record. 1986 on the charts. Bananarama, Billy Ocean, John Farnham. 86 in the pubs. This is what I want to hear. What do you remember? Were you at any of these gigs? Do you know any of these songs? Do they take you straight back? And if you reckon I've missed the one that should have been at number 1, let me know in the comments. I read them all. I'm Mark from AustralianMusicHistory.com, and I'll catch you next time.